This is Behind the Mic with AudioFile magazine, where the subjects are audiobooks and the actors who narrate them. I'm Joe Reed, and with me, contributor to AudioFile, Alan Minskoff. Hello, Alan.
Hi, Joe. How are you?
I'm fine, and I know what you're talking about this week, and I love the theme, so share it with us.
The theme this week is humor and satire, and they're all very, very different audiobooks. The three books are Snap by the Canadian author, children's author, and author Susin Nielsen, and it's read by Carol Schneider. There's Old School Indian by Aaron John Curtis, a new writer, and it's read by Jason Grasl. And the third is How to Dodge a Cannonball by Dennard Dayle, and it's read by William DeMeritt.
Well, I happen to love humor and satire, and I know they're as hard to write as they are to act. So my hat's off to everybody who's concerned with this. Let's start with Snap.
Okay, Snap is one of those times where the title means everything. There are three disparate characters, all of whom snap out of their current life into a very different moment. And they are united because they are all sent to a kind of a program that the community gives for people who have acted out. First, I should say Carol Schneider is to be congratulated. She does multiple voices, women and men, and she does them distinctly, and the comedy shines through, and that's not always easy.
No, not at all. I'm listening to this right now, and I'm loving it, and I think she is wonderful. And as you say, they're sent to like anger management class because they all lost their temper. And who hasn't lost their temper now and then? I ask
Precisely,
you.
and who hasn't needed a little anger management? I occasionally needed it in the classroom. At any rate, their three are very different. And the one we will hear later is Frances Partridge, who is a children's author and who snaps at a middle school when she's being, frankly, abused by one of the kids. The next is Gerard Blevins, who reacts creatively to his unctuous boss having bedded his wife. And who wouldn't be creative in that situation? And finally, is my favorite, is the youthful Parker Poplawski. And she is an artist, and she also works in the television world. And she goes to a movie set, and the star is clearly obscene to her, and she snaps. So these three find themselves, as you said, in anger management, and a little bit of mayhem ensues.
Well, definitely. And plus, we're also sympathetic with them because they were all placed in such situations where I would have snapped in each one of those. And so I think we're identifying with them. And Carol Schneider, my goodness, she did, I think it was a tour de force. You gave her an earphones and she really, really deserves it.
Well, she does all the different voices. It's one thing to have different voices, another thing to really inhabit that person, and she does. She's very
Yeah.
young with Parker Poplawski. She's sort of world-weary with the author. Gerard is Welsh, and she does that voice very, very well.
Oh, not only that, not only the accent, but he's such they're all interesting characters, but the sympathy that she embodies this voice with is really kind of remarkable, I think.
I think there were many reasons to give this an earphone. First are the performances, but then the one that really took me is she really gets these people, and she made them very distinct.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And as you said, Susin Nielsen is a middle grade author, and this is her debut as an adult novelist.
And she's a television writer, too, so this
Yeah.
world she's writing about, she really knows.
Absolutely. And the dialogue, I think, moves along in the way television I mean, she has a really great ear for dialogue.
She really does. And it's another, we talked last month about Canadian authors. She's another. She's another Canadian author. There's a lot going on up there. And this is one that I recommend highly. I think our audience will enjoy this and laugh.
I'm enjoying it. I'm having a great time with it. Why don't we listen to a little bit? What part did you pick for us to listen to?
This is right when Frances Partridge leaves the school, and this is I thought this laugh out loud because she is talking to an inanimate voice.
All right. This is Snap by Susin Nielsen, read by Carol Schneider.
Siobhan, her name for the voice she'd selected on Google Maps, spoke to her in a soothing Irish accent. Head north on Rupert Street. Frances knew the way home, but Siobhan's voice was a calming presence, a bit of much-needed company. For that reason, she put on Google Maps whenever she used the car these days, even on a run to the grocery store. It should be okay, Siobhan, don't you think? Talking to Siobhan was a relatively new thing, probably not a healthy thing, but no one else was around to hear, so what did it matter?
Ah, talking to your GPS. Haven't we all at one point or another? And actually, I have an Irish voice on my GPS as well.
Well, I have not thought about that, but it did make it very funny to me. And, she's having this relationship with her GPS.
And you can hear that kind of sense of self-realization that she has in her voice.
She's just snapped. She certainly, it's perfectly clear in that in this entire drive and other things that may happen to her, it's all foreshadowed right here.
Oh, yeah. It's a really great book. And the next one is Old School Indian. Tell us about that a little bit.
Well, Aaron John Curtis, there's a little autobiography in this because Aaron John Curtis, I think, is a Mohawk himself, and he lives in Miami, and he's in the book world. And this is about a poet, kind of a failed poet, who is a Mohawk from the New York Canadian border and who now lives in Miami, and he works in a bookstore. So there's some real detail that he knows from his own life. What is really fun are the other characters involved. He has an incredibly complicated love story, a woman that he marries and ultimately divorces, that starts at Syracuse University, not too far from where he comes from. And then he goes through a kind of a spiritual awakening with his uncle. And when we get to the sound sample, you will hear the uncle, and very briefly, but you can hear he speaks a very different way, very much like you hear Native Americans in that clipped way. And what's curious about the book is it almost has a little pinch of magic realism because the actual narrator is an alter ego whose name is Dominic Dearwood. And he makes fun of the protagonist, Abe Jacobs. And you get this other way of looking at the action because Dominic Dearwood would have lived the life very differently, and he gets to tell the story. And so when he talks about Abe's life and his life with a polyamorous wife, it has a different valence to it. It's really fun, and it's funny.
Yes, and so it's gotten great reviews. So Dominic is sort of in contrast to Abe.
Absolutely, where Abe is sort of like unable to kind of jump at life, and Dominic jumps right in, and he writes poems, and some of his poems are in the text. It is truly an achievement for a first time author.
And let's talk about Jason Grasl.
Jason Grasl is first rate. Every time you go from Abe to Dominic, you hear the wife and her kind of torture. The husband is like failed poets, as you probably know as well as anybody, are a type. And there's a lot of like self-examination, and if only I could write, if only I could, poetry's tough enough in the world, and to feel about yourself like you haven't succeeded makes it that much tougher. And Dominic kind of looks at him and says, toughen up, write something, be who you're supposed to be.
And the poetry that's there really reveals another side of Abe again.
Yeah, it's the Dominic side of Abe. Because Dominic says, well, I had to write this for you, pretty much is what he said. He's the alter ego. So he, of course, is Abe as writer.
Interesting. So shall we hear a little?
Oh, let's do it. This is the scene where the uncle, who's a healer, is going to try to help Abe. So that's important. The setup matters because you can hear a little snippet from the uncle and a lot from Abe. And this is Abe himself.
All right. This is Old School Indian by Aaron John Curtis, and it's read by Jason Grasl.
With the curtains drawn, the only light comes from the cloudy fluorescent drop ceiling in Budge's kitchen. A small wood-burning stove sits in the middle of the fading linoleum, propped up on loose bricks. Abe assumes it was lit the night before because it's still putting off warmth. Here, get comfy. Uncle Budge pulls two of the cushions from the seat of his couch. He passes one to Abe before dropping the second one on the floor by his own feet. Abe's heart starts beating fast. It's what he's here for, after all, some sort of massage, but now that it's about to happen, he finds the idea of an elder touching him a little creepy.
Jason has such a warm and intelligent voice and also great pacing. He narrated When Legends Die earlier this year.
Oh, he's first rate. He's done a lot of work on Native American fiction and nonfiction, I think, too.
Yeah, he's a really, really good narrator.
I want to say one more thing about this. Even though there's humor and there's satire, there's also some very serious stuff. There's a violent bar fight. There's the healing scene, and the sex is remarkable. I mean, there's intense sex scenes in this. So listeners, you know you're going to get the full palette of fiction.
And your third, which is also another extraordinary book. You have a good week.
I had a wonderful week. Well, this is getting a lot of good touts. This is How to Dodge a Cannonball by Dennard Dayle, and it's read, and frankly, this is brilliantly read by William DeMeritt, and I will tell you why. He does so many voices. The character is about a 15-year-old who takes off and joins first the Union as a flag twirler in the Civil War. Well, he then decides there's a bad battle, and he goes and joins the Confederacy. Same thing happens again, and he crosses a river, and he's back with the Union. Only this Union outfit is all black, and he is, of course, not at all black. And so that there's a lot of set pieces that are very, very funny. But I don't want to miss this very important thing. Very early in the work, he does 3 or 4 Confederate generals, and I just laughed out loud. Each of them had a distinct voice, and each of them were very, very different. And then later on, he does Union generals and Union soldiers, and he does black voices. It is really a quiver full of voices, and he shoots them all accurately.
And it's an Earphones Award winner.
And it should be. I mean, I hadn't heard much of William DeMeritt before, but he's an actor, I think, and he's very, very good.
And he narrates the Ivan Monk series, mystery series by Gary Phillips. He's really, really good. Matt Johnson in the New York Times called the protagonist of this an idealistic, optimistic, and a damn fool, which makes him a great protagonist.
Yeah. He plays a 15-year-old, kind of Tom Sawyer, Huck Finn-like, who has a talent for twirling a flag and spinning a story. And he has to tell a lot of stories because he is this, white kid who is in a black regiment. And so he tries to pretend that he's like 1/8, African-American. So he is just forever inventing stuff. And the sound sample is a flashback to when he's in school and how he deals with the teacher.
All right. Well, let's hear it. This is How to Dodge a Cannonball by Dennard Dayle, and it's read by William DeMeritt.
"Who knows why this town is called Liberty Valley?" asked the teacher. She'd only ignored without answering, so Anders was ahead. A girl 2 heads taller than Anders raised her hand. Anders might have called her cute if his mother wouldn't thrash him for that. Instead, he'd call her something else. She was very something else. "Robin," the teacher acknowledged the girl with a point. The girl, Robin, stood up, no shoes, and spoke. "Because we're free?" "Like me," said Anders, participating. "Yes, like you, Anders."
I think with that, you get a slight sense of why William DeMeritt has 6 Audio Award nominations. He's such an extraordinary narrator, and just with that uncanny ability to inhabit every character he voices.
The Confederate generals especially gives each of them a different sound and a different tone and a different cadence. Some of them are hurrying through and some of them are very slow talkers. I mean, it's just remarkable. I'm not doing him justice, but you know what I'm trying to say.
And this also seems like a really great example of a perfect pairing of a narrator and a text.
Absolutely. And to be fair, all 3 of these are funny. Some of them are laugh out loud funny, but all 3 have elements of satire, and all 3 are from very talented writers, and they make remarkable audio fiction. And I hope we have some more audio fiction. I have an inkling we will.
This Friday, a bonus edition of Behind the Mic. Publisher Michelle Cobb speaks with author Brian Andrews, who, along with Jeffrey Wilson, is half of the author duo Andrews and Wilson. They're talking about The Adversary, the 9th book in the Tier 1 thriller series, narrated by Ray Porter. In their conversation, Andrews shares his longtime love of audiobooks and talks about his persistence in getting Ray Porter involved as the narrator for the Tier 1 series. That's a bonus edition of Behind the Mic this Friday. Don't miss it. Support for Behind the Mic comes from Harper Horizon, publisher of The Grave Robber, the unbelievable true crime story of the biggest stolen artifacts case in FBI history and the man who helped set things right. It's available on all audiobook platforms. Behind the Mic is produced by Jessica Lockhart. Robin Whitten, Michelle Cobb, Stephen Cummings, Leslie Fine, Alan Minskoff, Alex Ritchie, Laura Rossi, and Kendra Winchester are our contributors. Jennifer Dowell and Coco McCracken are our editors. And the music is William Ross Chernoff's Nomads 4-Way. And I'm your host, Jo Reed. Good listening.